Hi everyone, welcome back to the Power Leader podcast. Today's episode exists because countless listeners reached out asking for this topic. There is a moment in every leader's journey when the mask of ego driven leadership falls away, and what remains is the raw truth of how power can be misused. This episode is not theory, it is the lived reality of what happens when a leader uses authority not to elevate others, but to protect their own fragile sense of control. This is part of our series on egoistic and narcissistic leadership. And today, we are exposing one of the most psychologically damaging patterns in the workplace: retaliation, discussed as performance management. The psychological anatomy of retaliation. Retaliation never begins with paperwork. It begins with a shift in behavior. A leader who feels threatened by feedback often responds not with curiosity, but with withdrawal. The tone changes, the warmth disappears, communication stops, meetings happen without you, opportunities evaporate, and suddenly the person who once praised your competence now treats you like a problem to be removed. Psychologists call this defensive ego activation, a state where the leader's identity feels threatened and instead of self reflection, they choose self protection. This is not leadership. This is fear wearing a badge of authority. Let's talk about the leadership abuse pattern. Ego driven leaders follow a predictable retaliation sequence. This pattern is not accidental. It is a psychological strategy to regain control, and it is deeply harmful. Do you know when unfair treatment becomes illegal? Unfair treatment is not automatically unlawful, but it becomes unlawful when it violates protected rights or required processes. The law recognizes several categories where retaliation crosses into illegality. Discrimination. If opportunities or ratings are tied to protected characteristics such as race, gender, age, disability, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, it violates federal laws such as Title VII, ADA, and ADEA. Second one is retaliation for protected activity. If an employee reports unfairness, mistreatment, discrimination, unethical behavior, or asserts a workplace right, and then the manager stops assigning meaningful work, excludes them, rates them low, demotes them, pressures them to leave, that is retaliation, the most common claim in employment law. The third one is creating a setup for failure, withholding assignments needed to meet goals, then penalizing the employee for not meeting those goals is evidence of retaliation or discrimination. Fourth one is procedural violation. Most workplaces require objective standards, documented feedback, HR involvement, a chance to improve. Skipping these steps makes the rating or demotion invalid. The fifth one is defamation in reviews. False statements of fact in performance reviews can be defamatory if they harm reputation. And do you know why denying opportunities matters? A manager who refuses to assign tasks aligned with your competence and then penalizes you for underperformance may be engaging in constructive unfairness, retaliatory motive, a setup for termination, or discrimination discussed as performance management. And courts look at patterns, not isolated events. Let's talk about a realistic example, the case of Lali. Imagine an employee named Lali. 2 weeks before her demotion, her manager told her he would assign 3 employees under her, which is a clear sign of trust and upward trajectory. Lali then gave feedback about unfair and unsupportive behavior and cultural dysfunction, which is a protected activity. Immediately afterward, she was demoted without notice. Her team was taken away. She was rated low. She was pressured to leave. This is not performance management. This is retaliation. And do you know why the timeline matters? Retaliation claims require 3 elements. Protected activity. In this case, Lali gave feedback. adverse action, demotion, low rating, removal of duties. And the retaliatory link is the actions happened immediately after her feedback. 3-week shift from I will give you 3 employees to you are remoted and rated low is extremely strong evidence of retaliatory motive. And let's talk about some of the additional legal red flags. Lali's situation shows multiple violations, constructive removal of duties, withholding work, then rating her low, demotion without notice or justification, no documentation, no HR, reversal of trajectory, sudden shift after positive signals, hostile environment, pressure to resign, procedural failure, no performance plan, no due process. This is the exact pattern retaliation laws were created to address. Now, let's talk about the behavioral shift that proves retaliation. Lali's manager displayed all 4 classic retaliation indicators: immediate emotional shift, communication cutoff, exclusion from work, sudden documentation. These behaviors are not random. They are the psychological footprint of a leader who feels threatened and retaliates to regain control. Do you know the meaning of no explanation? A demotion without explanation is a major procedural violation. When a manager cannot articulate performance issues, business reasons, documentation, HR involvement, the law presumes the motive is retaliatory. This is called pretext, a false reason used to hide the real one. And when HR is not involved, there is no oversight, no compliance check, no validation, no due process. This means the demotion is not only retaliatory, it is procedurally invalid. Managers act alone when they know HR would not approve their actions. So now let's talk about the deeper leadership psychology. Leaders who feel challenged or exposed often respond by withdrawing emotionally, isolating the employee, withholding work, document selectively, demoting without reason, pushing the employee out. This is not leadership. This is abuse of authority. And do you know why cases like Lali's are so strong? Lali had a documented promise of expanded responsibility, a sudden reversal after giving feedback, a demotion with no process, a low rating without opportunities, pressure to leave, a clear emotional shift in the manager, no written explanation, no HR involvement. This is not a gray area. This is retaliation. Employees, if you have ever experienced this pattern, hear this clearly. Your worth was never defined by someone else's fear. Your competence was never erased by someone else's ego. Your future is not limited by the insecurity of a single leader. This is the Power Leader podcast, where we turn adversity into wisdom and wisdom into leadership. Signing off, Dia.